Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Planet Lizzdom. It is Thursday, November 11th, and lest we forget, it is Remembrance Day, hence my poppy. I'm so happy to see you all this evening. Thank you so much for joining us again. For those of you who never have, Planet Lizzdom is a show where we feature creators, artists, entrepreneurs, and entertainers, and we talk about how you are thriving during this crazy time. And I want to invite everybody tonight to join us in the comments. Ask away, tune in, turn on, and take part, because this show really is all for you. And tonight we have an amazing guest in the house. He is one of my new favorite artists. He is one to watch, and he is really and truly a rising Canadian star. And I couldn't be more honored and happy to have him here tonight. Everybody, I want you to give a very warm welcome to the amazing, the very sweet, and the incredibly talented Patrick Hunter. Welcome, Patrick.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm struggling with my poppy.
Oh my goodness, I keep losing them. I don't know how to prevent them from disappearing.
I'm surprised that there's not a lot more people out there with, some hate for poppies a little bit, because it's a pin that could be jabbed into your boob.
I have jabbed myself many times today.
Yeah. So anyway, I got mine. We're good to go.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. There is so much that I want to cover, because I think you are just so incredible. Oh, and Monica wants to say safety pin for the poppy. That's actually a really great idea. I never thought about that. Very, very interesting.
Mine does have one. I saw yours in the intro, and I was like, oh shit, I need to get mine on. And having said just shit, we're good with swear words.
We're good with swears. This is very much a PG-13 show, and quite frankly, everybody's already heard it.
Okay, yeah. Keep it to a minimal, but
absolutely. I don't think we'll end up in. Yeah, we're not going to end up in social media jail if we say a poop word here and there.
Got it.
And Monica says swears are the best. They are the best. But you know what is the best? And I really want to talk about this right off the top, because I'm so excited about it. You're this amazing two-spirit Ojibwe artist, and you make all these beautiful, pieces of work that are so from the heart, and they really speak to the soul. And you just recently made this amazing goalie mask for, oh my goodness, what is his name? Marc-Andre Fleury from the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, Marc-Andre Fleury. I just call him Mark, but
Mark, okay.
But everyone else calls him Marc-Andre Fleury. And yeah, I did do that.
You did that. That's amazing. Please tell me how this happened.
Well, let's take the long journey back to January, and they had come through my Instagram, in the other inbox that you have, and there was just this random message. I was like, would you like to work with the national sports team? And I'm a curious cat, and I don't always read into all of the ones that are in the other section. And this one just kind of like piqued my interest. And I was like, maybe, who? And it was a liaison that they were working with that had reached out through there. And I agreed to take the first meeting, and we moved on from there. And I kind of realized that they were legit, and what they were asking was for a land acknowledgement art piece. And not as it usually goes, not a lot of time was given to me to do it. They're like, actually, we need this like in a couple days. And
oh my goodness.
Always is the case. If there's graphic designers that are listening to this or in on the page, that's how it always goes. And it's like, imagine the great work that we could do if we had enough time to do it all. But anyway, I pulled it off, and that's kind of how it really all got started.
It is just so amazing. And I love that it is aptly named, that the goalie mask is aptly named Courage. If you think about it, there are hockey pucks flying at the goalies at 100 miles an hour constantly at him. And it's also, there's so many other elements tied into that title. what sort of inspired you to make the mask the way you did, and the land acknowledgement detailing the way you did?
Okay, so a couple things to unpack here. I initially agreed to work with the Blackhawks after that first meeting because I just felt like they had a lot of integrity,
Hmm.
and I took the meeting in the first place with a lot of trepidation just because their logo is quite, controversial in my community and amongst people as it should be. And after that first initial meeting, I just kind of realized that they were trying to get on the path of reconciliation. And in the United States, the words that we use here in Canada are quite different from there. And, the vibe is different too. And, reconciliation might not be the words that they're using, but they're like, we're just trying to get better. I'm like, okay, I can work with that.
Okay.
And I I just thought that what a what a great way to segue into changing a narrative, changing a belief system than artwork. And the work has done its job. It's created conversations, it's triggered people, it's made people ask about the culture, and that's kind of really what the goal was. And it worked.
Well, it is so powerful. And, a recurring theme that I see in your work is the feather. And I know when I got to know you first, I got to know you when you were doing your steel feathers
Yeah.
collection, which is just so stunning. And I mean, you have your feathers all over, everything from mugs to art, art that you hang on the wall. This I love, the steel drum. That is so cool. The fire pit, t-shirts and masks and phone cases, and the feather I find is a recurring theme in your art. What is it about it that draws you to it? What's the symbolism of it?
So just to give everyone context, in indigenous culture, not every single one, but where I'm from, we believe that we have a lot of reverence for nature, and one of those folks in nature is the eagle, and he flies the highest, and we believe he kind of carries the prayers and the goodwill of the people up to the creator. And it's a very important job. So, whenever you find an eagle feather, in your path on a trail or wherever you might find yourself, or you're given an eagle feather by, a community leader or an elder, it just means that you're on the right path. You've done something of service. You're really uh, are going above and beyond the usual call of what people kind of do in their lives. And I think, I mean, it's not just indigenous, like my culture as an Ojibwe man. It's other cultures as well that kind of have reverence for eagles, and that's kind of what I always do them as, and with that type of meaning behind them. And I am trying to kind of like covertly charm my way into people's homes and into people's hearts through these, like, whether it be a mug or a thing on the wall, and ultimately just kind of create conversations around, oh, where did you get that piece, like what does that mean? And having, if you're asked that at a dinner party, you have to answer, and you better have a good answer. And that's where it kind of stems from, is just sort of like trying to create conversations around my culture.
Well, they're absolutely beautiful feathers. What I really like about them is that every single one is very different. That's something that I noticed in your Every Child Matters design that you made, and it really struck me because every feather was so different, and the metaphor that every child is different but just as
Mhm.
valuable, really that hit so close to home, and it was just so beautiful. When you're
Thank you.
designing a feather, how do you choose how it's going to look?
Honestly, I just sort of let it flow through, and I just start drawing and hope for the best. But after a while, you just kind of get better and better at what it is that you do. And it's kind of like, I always equate this to going to the gym. Like, in my workshops with kids and whoever it is, just like, I wasn't great at drawing. I just sort of got good at it. And if you go to the gym enough times, or if you practice enough, you're going to get a muscle. So it kind of works that way a little bit, and you just sort of become more confident in what you're doing when it comes to artwork. And creative confidence is a thing, and I don't think that's a term that is really thrown out all that much. But in the workshops that I do, whether it be through high school kids or through the pandemic, I was doing a lot of companies that were like, we just need something for our like staff to do. So I did a lot with different companies and stuff. And creative confidence, it can, that's a thing. And I'd like to take the edge off and just let people know that art can be easy and it can be enjoyable. It's not easy to just do it, but let me give you the tools to try.
Absolutely. And I know I showed it twice, but I'm going to show it one more time. You did this workshop with, I think it was the Treaty 3. Oh my goodness, where was my
Treaty
note?
3. Yeah.
Yes. And, this is, I love the fact that you did a virtual workshop with painting with these beautiful feathers, and look at the smile on everybody's faces.
Yeah.
They made that, through your guidance, which I think is very cool. Creative confidence is something that, I think we all forget to kind of embrace because we're so busy looking at what everybody else does and comparing ourselves. Social media is great for that and terrible for that at the same time.
Yeah.
And I talk about it all the time, but committing daily to your craft is how you get better. Committing daily to the gym is how you build that muscle.
You're gonna get a muscle.
I love that. You're gonna get a muscle. What would you say, because of the pandemic, obviously everything is happening virtually in some regards. What are some of the most rewarding moments that you've experienced through this?
I would have to say 100% the just the amount of people I've been able to impact through doing virtual workshops with, whether it be school boards or, like I said, corporations or individuals that kind of just wanted to get together with their neighborhood virtually. That feels different than kind of like when someone sends me an email that's like, oh, I love your artwork on my wall. It's more like, oh, you really brought my family together a little bit more tonight, or whatever someone is going through at the moment, where they're kind of just sending me something that, like, I felt differently. I felt like I really hated this and I didn't want to do this, and then I did it, and then and that's the case. I think, I'm a pretty chill person. I think it's honestly just because I do artwork all the time, and just to say it to the listeners or subscribers tonight, like, you feel different when you are mad at someone and then you just take a walk and then you come back to that same situation. It's the same thing can be with art. Like, you sit down and you paint something or you draw something for a little bit, and you'll feel differently about that situation after, and that feels really good. And one of the best things, just to kind of like make this a little longer, but one of the best things is that I'm one of the ambassadors for the Gordon Downey Wenjack fund, and one of the students who is like, she's not Indigenous, but she was like, I really want to make this happen in my school, and one of the goals of the DWF is like reconciliation. So there's a lot of people out there that can say that they want to do this work, but they really give these students the tools to do it. And she asked me to come in and or virtually come in and do this art workshop that she saw in the summer or was a part of. And I thought that was really cool that this Muslim girl, not at all Indigenous, but just saw the importance of it and wanted to share that with her class in high school. And I'm like, fuck, like, she's gonna go on to do so much cool shit in her life.
Absolutely. I think I'm spelling it right. Reconciliation. That is so smart. I love that.
Yeah.
But you bring up a very good point. We're all capable of, growth and pushing forward and lifting each other up, regardless of what our backgrounds may be. It's really, really reassuring to see that, there are kids in this world growing up who are so proactive in their thinking and emotionally mature. That's a
Yeah,
really big deal. Like that, I have goosebumps. That's amazing.
I would like that. And when I'm teaching these or instructing or just kind of, I'm just hanging out and painting and hoping that they get something out of it. But I there's such a difference in the way that you and I went through high school as opposed to like how they have gone through high school, where there's a lot more emphasis on like mental health and triggers and like how are you feeling today? What are your
Yeah.
feelings? And it's like we were just taught to suppress that, get through school, go get your lunch, and if the hockey players are bugging you, just leave them alone. They're more important. And it's like
Yeah.
that was whack. And
Yeah.
now there's a lot more conversation about like, how's your mental health today? Do you need a break? Like, do you need some water? Like, please, just. And that's what these students are growing up with. And
Yeah.
just to furthermore, um, all of these people or parents that are just like, I didn't have that in high school. Why do you need that? It's like, well, fuck, maybe you should have had that in high school and you would have been a better person.
Absolutely. It is a big deal when someone asks you, how are you? Are you taking care of yourself? Because the
Yeah.
truth of the matter is, most of us don't. We're
And we're
too
just
busy.
learning as adults to do that now.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually did
Yeah.
that yesterday. I said to my friend, I'm like, I need a timeout. I need to go for a walk. And I went for a walk. And let me
Mhm.
tell you that 3-minute decompression changed
Yeah.
my day.
Yeah. It's
Because
real.
I asked for what I needed and I got it,
Good.
which is
Yeah, we
wild.
all need to take time to do that.
Absolutely, and I think if anything, this pandemic has taught us to be a little kinder to each other, a
Mm-hmm.
little nicer, take it down 1,000 a little bit.
1,000.
Yeah, take it down 1,000. Sorry, while you're drinking your tea, I'm gonna make you laugh. Now, it's so funny. When I was doing my research about you, I literally have pages and pages and pages upon things because you have been working so hard, before the pandemic, because I'm very ACDC, you know, pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, post-pandemic sort of thing. What were you doing leading up to that?
Well, kind in a lot of ways the same thing, but just without the kind of tenacity that I was up to. But I was painting a lot and trying to do more in-person workshops, like what I was talking about virtually that I've done. The last place I traveled to, believe it or not, was like Fort St. John, BC, and I got to go, and I'm paid to go there, and it's wild that I was like, all I'm doing is painting with these people, and that's the job. Sometimes it's part of it, and it just blew my mind that and then the pandemic hit right after that, and because it was March 2020, and then all the lockdowns really started happening after that. But I was grateful that I got to go and just see, like, the beauty of the West Coast, which no one has gone, you should always try and make your way out there. It's amazing. But yeah, just a lot of it's painting and selling prints. And I think pre-pandemic Patrick Hunter art and design was a lot more just trying to get work onto people's walls.
Okay.
And then mid to now, where I'm at now, it's like the the goal of the business has changed, whereas now I'm trying to like inspire more people to make indigenous artwork, like more indigenous people to make indigenous artwork, to put into more public spaces. And like the vision of it has changed, where like it's not just about me. Like, if I'm not good for a project, I'm asking Blake Anshkineb to do it, or whoever it is. And I am just a lot more chill about things, and really want everyone to succeed, not just me. It's when I rise, you rise is sort of the thing.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to hear you say that because I say that all the time. We all rise together. You know,
Hmm.
there is glory enough for all, and I love your
Yeah,
attitude about that.
yeah. There's always enough pie.
Absolutely, and it's made more delicious when you can share it.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, happiness is the only thing that's really doubled when it's shared, and I didn't come up with that, but I heard it before, and I was like,
yeah.
huh, it always makes me want to like cry a little bit.
It's because pie, it's very delicious. Something that I did want to celebrate, and I know that we're talking about the collective and how we all rise together, but man, did you ever rise? You won this really amazing award, the Entrepreneur Spirit Award with Powwow Pitch. Please tell me more about this.
I have a really wonderful best friend who nominated me for it, and I see these things sometimes, and I'm always like, I hope the person that really deserves that wins. And I I'm not out there in this job to like try and win awards or anything like that. But it was very beautiful and very nice to like to win that and have a moment where I could take a pause for a minute and just really kind of think about, okay, so the work that I'm doing really does have impact, and it's impacting people in positive ways, which has always been the intent. And when you're at the desk, which I'm at right now, day in and day out, you're not really thinking about like, is this reaching Judy in Iqaluit, or is this reaching Joan in the East Coast? You're just kind of trying to do it to like get things checked off your list of things to do that day. And it really just gave me a moment to be like, all right, you know what, chill out, enjoy this. There are people that really resonate with this, and it's not just no big deal. Like, no, this is a big deal, and you need to realize that, and just try and enjoy it. It's really weird to try and talk about and just be like, awards, but
Well, I know it's weird. Like, I get the sense that you're very much like me, or it's awkward to be like, thank you very much. Can we move on to something else now? Like, because it is a big deal, but it is the sort of thing where collectively, we all, again, we all rise together, but it is really cool to see that you are being recognized by the collective, by
mhm.
other artists, by other entrepreneurs. That I know, it's so easy as an introverted artist to be humble, but man, your work really is incredible. And I'm going to mirror what Monica's saying. She could totally see it being featured on her currency and postage. Monica, yes. Oh,
Any
name it.
interest in that?
Oh my gosh.
I
Yes.
Yeah, I would. I think it would be. I think it would be really interesting to see that happen. Um, I guess we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. Well, there is a very interesting step towards that I want to talk about right after this commercial. We will be right back, guys.
Okay.
Hey everyone! Planet Lizzdom now has a Patreon. Your help will allow Liz to make the show even bigger, cover costs, and help bring on celebrity guests. Go to patreon.com/Planet Lizzdom and pledge now.
So here is my connection from right now to currency and a postage stamp. What really kind of inspired me, or the impetus for me to bring you on the show here, was that I saw this pop up on your Facebook where you had done a Letterman jacket for Ron McLean from TSN and Tara Sloan,
Yeah.
some of my favorite Canadians. And not only did you do that, but you customized it for them around their personality. I got to show it one more time. Ron MacLean is very beloved in Canada. You know, he's right up there with, you know, every single person that is on our currency. You know, I don't know if you realize that, but that's a really big deal. How did that happen?
Oh, I mean, yes, everything you're saying about Ron and Tara, 100% correct. They're so nice, and you know, taking a long trek back to when I met them in 2019. I was asked by Rogers to do an art show in their gallery space at their HQ, their headquarters in Toronto. And I am a gay man. I also happen to be Indigenous, so it's in Toronto. If you live here, if you're aware of it, both of those things happen in the same month. And I weirdly was only brought on to them because this one dude won like a door prize that I had donated like months or maybe a year before that, and he worked at Rogers, and he was like, would you like to be involved in a show at Rogers? So that's kind of how it happened. That's how things really kicked off with Rogers. And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then through there they came to the art show, and it was interesting to see them there because I was like, oh shit, like this is like my first one. And it just happened to be at Rogers. Uh and then you know, there's a lot of things that are in between, you know, the stuff that happened with Roots and Hometown Hockey and the first show. But you know, just to kind of get to the sweet spot of it, like Rogers had done Every Child Matters with me, wanting to do that kind of advocacy work together, and then they own Hometown Hockey, so they asked me to do that, and that's kind of like weirdly how it all came together. But that's the behind the scenes version of it.
That's pretty cool. Now we have to find someone
Yeah.
at the Canadian Mint to get your feather, you know, on a bill of some sort, or you know, because I don't. The
Well,
feather to me seems like such a very iconic image for you.
yeah. Well, you know what it is. It's if I can give it any advice that's of worth value, like be nice to everyone you know, because you never know who's going to be speaking your name in meetings where they can help your career out. And you don't want to be that person that's like, he seemed like a jerk when I talked to him, so I don't want to bring him on or whatever it is. And in the same breath, like giving work up for free might not seem the thing to a lot of entrepreneurs or artists first coming out, but an opportunity is an opportunity. And you know, whether that be sleeping on someone who you admire's couch, or you know, getting paid X amount of dollars for some sort of job, like it's all part of it. And it you know, not one thing is bigger than the other. It's like, what are you willing to not what are you willing to do, not in a creepy way,
Yeah, no.
but like if you can donate some work, do it. Like it might seem like a loss, but you're going to gain so much more.
Well, and thank you for saying that, Patrick, because you know that is some really great advice for our younger viewers who are up and coming artists. You know, um, there's always this whole argument about exposure bucks, and you can't live on
Yeah,
exposure, but you're absolutely right. Use your best judgment.
yeah,
Decide if it is appropriate and worth your time to donate, because you're absolutely right. You just never know where your work is going to land, whose hands it will land in. And Agos actually has a great question for you. He says you should design band T-shirts. Also, can you tell us more about your work in the sport hockey? Like, did you work for any other teams?
okay. um I I don't know if I would ever do. If I liked the band, I would do it. But having said that, like I don't really watch a lot of sports, and I did that for the Blackhawks without really watching the team. So maybe I'm out to lunch on that. But yeah, I would probably do a band shirt. And then the next part of the question was, do I plan to work with more?
More sports teams, yes. Let me bring that comment back up again. Did you do work for any other hockey teams? Okay.
I want to. you know, having done the first one, sure, like it kind of makes it easier to work with the next one. And what's kind of been a learning experience for me this whole time of being an entrepreneur the last almost 10 years is just that, like, I've never really known how to do anything that I'm doing. It's just like taking risks and like saying yes to big opportunities that like I've no business doing and figuring it out. And then I have context for the next one. So I would totally do it again, probably better. But at the same time, what I have learned through these processes
Mhm.
is how to tell the next person how to do it even better than I did. Like I said, like there's no one to say like you should make your prints this size. You should buy your sleeve wrappers from this place.
Of
You
course.
should, you know, sign them on this way, on this thickness of paper. Like no one was there to help me with that. I asked. And what the worst part is sometimes is when you
Mhm.
get people that are like, you should do your own research. And like what a slamming of the door in
Oh
the
yeah.
face that feels like. And so I've had that a lot, and
Mhm.
I just was like, I'm not going to do that. And who the fuck gives a shit if you know they're selling more prints than me? It's not my work that they're selling. It's their work, and if I can help someone try and figure it out, and make it a little easier for them to
Mhm.
pay a bill, geez, not a problem. And I'm
Absolutely.
more than grateful to do that.
Thank you for being such an awesome human that way because you're right. There are some people who are so insecure and just so unwilling to
Yeah,
help. And I think, wow, your life must really be miserable. You know, because
yeah,
I love to give advice. I love when people ask me, "Hey, Liz, where should I get
yeah,
a sparkly mask?" Well, let me tell you where you should. You know, why
yeah.
don't you have one with them? You know, why don't you wear one that matches mine? I don't mind. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be that person that like gives unsolicited advice. I for
Oh, yeah,
some people that I think might couldn't use it, I cushion it with a little bit of like, if
yeah,
you're open to like some help, I would love to tell you just a few tips on what I would know from what I've observed,
yeah,
and not in a negative way. You know, you cushion things, and it's usually well received, and if it's not, then all right,
yeah. I
they
mean,
know better than me.
well, that's it. Some people just know everything. You know,
Hmm.
or don't want any help at all. They really just want to
Yeah,
learn the hard way. You know, I don't. I appreciate every bit of help that I can get, but
yeah,
I'm also willing to give it. You know,
yeah.
what would you say? Like, what would you say was the most interesting question someone ever gave you in terms of advice or your experience as an artist?
Um, I think one of the best ones I just kind of got today was, you know, how do you decide to work with a organization that's as controversial as the Blackhawks?
Okay.
And that one, it was really good, and you'll hear it tomorrow if you want to tune into, Superior Morning on CBC in Thunder Bay. But um, I I just was like, well, I really want the work to try and start conversations.
Mhm.
And that's since the pandemic has started, and the intention of the work has changed. That's the intention of it now, is to like, how do I, create change and start conversations around maybe reconciliation, or just trying to get people more interested, or have a thought about indigenous populations, given that we are the first peoples, given that we
Mhm.
have seeded all of these cities where people live and call home now and have zero representation. um, the goal of it has changed. And in aligning myself with places like the Blackhawks, it's like they have a complicated story, and but they have a lot of integrity too. And what their ultimate goal is to try and change their trajectory, and let people know that they don't want to be this team that's regarded as racist because of their logo. They have integrity, and want to change that. However, they have millions of fans, and it's a big ship to try and turn. So how do we do that? We do a land acknowledgement. It might seem trite to a lot of people. I understand that. But what's the first step here?
Yeah.
If the first step is a land acknowledgement that seems a little bit performative, then hey, there's a step in the right direction at least.
Yeah.
But at the same time, now the next step is going to be, weirdly enough, a freaking goalie mask. And I just, like, I think about how different it must be for a youth today, like a young kid looking at hockey being like, oh, I can't wait to play. Whereas like their grandparent saw hockey and was like, I would love to play that. However, it is very dangerous for me to play that, given that they're so racist towards us.
Mhm.
And that's the difference, is like we're creating safe spaces, and it's weird and doesn't seem like it's real, but like I am creating those changes through art.
Well, and that is the beauty and purpose of art, to make change,
Yeah.
to affect change. I think it's absolutely brilliant that your work would be on a goalie mask, because the camera is on the goalie so often.
Yeah.
And again, it's titled Courage. And I mean, again, I'm getting goosebumps. That is a very powerful title on so many different levels. When you were doing the Every Child Matters T-shirt for Orange T-shirt, I guess it was called Orange T-shirt Day, Reconciliation Day, I should say.
Yeah, that's the new title, is Reconciliation Day, but it was just called Orange Shirt Day, so you're not wrong.
All right. Well, it's very important to me that I do get it right. So if I am getting anything wrong, please let me know. So I'm bringing this back up again because I'm turning you into a supermodel. Every single photo I've taken or grabbed of your product you're wearing, I'm like, okay. When you were approached to do Orange Shirt Day and to make this beautiful design, from what I understand, from what I've read, I think most people in the Indigenous community know someone within 2 to 3 generations who was affected by residential schools and, the horrors associated with it.
Sure.
As an Aboriginal, or sorry, as someone who's grown up in that community, you're Ojibwe, you probably do know someone who went through that, or someone who knows someone. That's a heavy thing to unpack already. How do you do that as an artist?
Yeah, good question. Just to put it out there, like there's not one Indigenous person out there that has not been affected by it.
Yeah.
I used to think that it was like, oh, that's something that happened to my grandma. It didn't happen to me. I'm good. I'm fine. And then as I've gotten older and started to listen to more stories about people and just, taking in more information from folks, it's like, well, the 60s scoop happened. That's because, residential schools weren't assimilating as fast as they really wanted to.
Yeah.
So and then my mother didn't grow up with a culture. And then I had to learn from my mom, who not that it was a bad thing, but she did the best she could, but she didn't know anything about her culture, and her parents that she had, a very, very white old family. They did their best to try and help her, but it wasn't the same as like being with your family. And so in doing the Orange Shirt Day, I was like, it's not of course like a hot topic that everyone wants to talk about, but it's one of those topics that like I think everyone needs to know about. And weirdly enough, the goal of it is to have education around residential schools, where I had that growing up. I had a great history teacher, shout out Mr. Mac, that taught us about it. And there's a lot of teachers out there that do it, but they're not told that it's not in the curriculum. They have to. So aligning myself with Rogers to try and tell the story. And I was like, are you guys sure you want to do this? And they're like, yeah, we want to. And then they put their whole fucking might behind it. It was on radio, print,
Thank you, Rogers.
on the internet, on television. And it was really insane to see like the machine of media actually work for something that was really worth talking about. And, you know, everyone thinks it goes the other way, but in this case, it really went for my people.
Well, and, you know, what a wonderful outcome in that sense. Like I've noticed with our younger generations coming up, there is this desire to embrace the difficult histories to make sure that they don't happen again. Like I remember being, I think, 11 years old and seeing a made-for-TV movie about a residential school and asking my dad about it.
Yeah.
And I just broke down in tears. And I watched a grown man break down into tears telling me about this and saying, you know, this is a very shameful thing that happened in our past. And, you know, thank you for coming to me about it. Let's talk about it because, you know, ignoring it won't make it go away. In fact, ignoring it will make it.
Yeah, it's always really hard to see like grown men break down and cry.
Well, especially
it's like
when
worse in some ways, but you know, at the same time, we're like, this guy fucking needs it.
Well, you know, and
he needs to let it out.
I think we all need to break down and cry. You know, I think we
absolutely.
need to be heartbroken. That has to happen because
it's part of it.
It is a part of it, you know, and I think, you know, something that, you know, then this is where toxic positivity just makes me crazy. You have to go through the gamut of raw emotions. You have to hurt, you have to grieve, you have to feel the shame, and you have to feel all the ugly emotions to get through it.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I was never more proud to wear an orange t-shirt and talk about it. And, you know, I remember Canada Day, I couldn't do my show. I was just too sad and ashamed. And I was like, I'm not proud to be Canadian today. I'm not going to participate in anything. And I'm very glad now to have the opportunities to discuss and talk about it. You know, with Orange Shirt Day, do you have any plans to go further with it?
Well, it's only grown since I've initially done it, and we through the machine that Rogers have raised over like, you know, $250,000 for residential school survivor societies, and that's just in 2 years. And through, you know, if we can take it all the way back to the beginning, I just donated one piece that someone won for a door prize, and then it progressed from there. And I don't think that like Rogers would have done it had, you know, the show that I did happened. And then, you know, it's kind of strange to think back on the progression of all of this stuff, but you know, I had to be in the right place at the right time and say yes to the right things when they were coming up, and have the courage to be like, yep, I'm gonna do it. And my thing is like, I always say yes, and then I just try and figure it out after I hang up the phone. I'm like, oh my god, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. But I
live by that ethos. Say yes, the rest is all details.
Yeah, watch I think it's called Yes Man with Jim Carrey.
Yes.
He just says yes for a whole day, and just like his life kind of changes. And I do that quite a bit. Like, not to everything. Like, I'm not gonna do like meth or something.
Yeah. I was just gonna make a joke about that. Like, would you like yes.
Probably gonna say no to that one, but you know, I'll say yes to working with a huge corporation on a hard subject. And I think it's what's really cool as well is that like they're not just like using me for my artwork. I actually really get to talk to them about how I want this to work, and there's nothing goes forward without me being like, okay, but you guys have to do this, and you like there's an accountability that is on them as well as we're working together. And it's weird, but it's so freaking cool to be a person who I am, like from the bush. Like if you guys just want to quickly look up where Red Lake, Ontario is, more specifically Madsen, Ontario, you'll see this. There's about 40 people that live there and like 80 dogs. And for me to have like the level of influence I've been able to accrue with Rogers, not just them, but like the Blackhawks too, like things are attainable. I'm not from privilege. I am from a very poor family in a very obscure part of the world, and have risen to these heights only because I really leaned into who I was as an Indigenous person, but then also as a gay person too. And I'm successful because I'm those things and not in spite of it.
Well, Patrick, I couldn't be more proud of you. You couldn't say it any better. I am so in awe of you. As an artist, I really love what you're doing, and I truly am. When I say this, I mean it. You are a Canadian to watch. Your star is rising right now, and guys, you need to pay attention to what Patrick is doing. And please go to patrickhunter.ca and treat yourself to something with a beautiful eagle feather on it. His work is delightful, and you are supporting an artist when you do that, and that is a very, very important thing.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things you can buy on there. I have gift cards now. I also have like workshops that you can buy if you want to like set it up with a buy it as a Christmas gift for you and your friends. It says that there's only a limit of 20 people, but invite as many people as you want. What else can I say? Instagram's a lot of fun to follow me on. I have a dog now, so there's a lot of like pictures of Cole and stories about that. But there is a lot of artwork that happens through there. And just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a taste of what's to come, I had just got word back that I'm going to be working with a place that rhymes with the Olympics. And you can follow next Friday. I'm going to drop some more info on that.
I am so excited about that, Patrick. Thanks for the Schlinside info. On that
You're
note,
welcome.
thank you so much for joining us tonight, Patrick. I look forward to seeing what you're doing, and I look forward to your announcement as well. Thank you so much for being such
No
an
problem,
amazing
Liz.
person and coming on.
Yeah, thanks for
Love ya.
asking me to do this. This was fun.
My pleasure. Be
Anytime.
well. Anytime. Okay, so I'll see you next week then.
See you soon.
Bye, Patrick. Have a great night.
Okay, bye.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, I love your comments. I love, you're very thought-provoking. I really love what you guys have to bring to the table. And I always encourage you to tune in, turn on, and take part. Because, guys, you never know who's going to show up at Planet Lizzdom. We have a lot of amazing guests lined up for you. This is what happens when you only sleep for 3 hours because you were working a lot, and it's all good. I want to wish you guys a very great weekend. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week. We have another wonderful artist lined up for you guys. Be well, everybody. I'll see you next week.